Welcome to the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Geisel. This podcast is dedicated to helping you create a life that sets your soul on fire. I believe that is truly possible for everybody, but you have to be willing to do a few things. You have to be willing to let go of your past conditioning. You have to be willing to break free from societal norms. And you have to be willing to get really curious about your life and how you can start to look at it differently. Each week, we will hear stories from people who have done exactly this. People who chose to disrupt the life path they were on, go against the grain, and share the lessons and perspective shifts they had to make along the way. Every episode is committed to not only inspiring you and connecting you with other amazing humans, but actually giving you the tools you need to use this information in your own life so that you continue to evolve and reconnect with your highest self. Are you ready? Let's have some fun. Welcome to this week's episode of the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to another amazing human, Alex Street. He is so fun and lighthearted, and yet as fun as we make it, we keep it real on this episode. He's a story coach, and he's been telling stories all of his life as an actor, a youth pastor, a public speaker. But he was so afraid that the audience wouldn't like him that he held himself back and was constantly confused about what to say. For 20 years, he was frustrated because he wasn't making the impact he knew he could. He ended up enrolling in a program with other entrepreneurs who quickly helped him see that his story matters and his voice is needed in this world. Now that there's nothing in his way, he is showing up more confident than ever to help people uncover their signature story, clarify their message, and speak without fear. He can help anybody out there bring clarity to your complicated story so that you can stand out from the crowd. Alex shares that if you're anything like him and you want to speak up, but something keeps getting in your way, that he is the one that can help you through that. I know you're going to love hearing more about Alex's story as well as laughing with us in this episode. So let's dive right in. All right, Alex, I'm so excited to have you here with us today. Thank you for taking the time to be here with the Evolve Beyond Limits community.
Stacy, this is my pleasure. It is such a joy. Anytime that we talk, I think it just leads with laughter. And so, I mean, maybe that's setting the table here and people are going to expect like a riotous conversation. We'll get super serious, but I don't know. Either way, it's just going to be great. I appreciate it.
It's going to be so fun. And, we were laughing already because that's like why I can't talk right now. And we won't tell you why. We'll save that later. So
you're going to tell them?
No, I'm not going to tell them. Now everybody's like, what
now
is
the
happening?
mystery.
The
what
mystery.
Did I talk about?
It's hard to say. We'll find out. So I want the listeners to get to know you a little bit better. So I am going to ask you just a couple of simple questions to get us started. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. First question. Where are you coming to us from?
Yeah, I'm in Toronto, just a little bit north of the big city, Toronto, Ontario, and it's gorgeous. Blue skies, beautiful, happy people, happy, healthy,
So good.
Free, healthy.
Can we come to Canada yet?
Sort of. If you promise to be nice. I think that's it. I think that's what actually is happening.
Is that a thing? I thought there's a lot more rules to try to get.
They make it sound like it is, but it's actually we just
got to smile on your way through.
Yeah. Are you gonna be okay? You gonna be cool? Yeah, I think so. They just opened up like the baseball team here is allowed to play games here, so I assume that regular civilians are allowed to cross as well.
Okay. I might have to make my way over there then. All right. I loved this question because it's a selfish ask. What is your favorite book?
Okay. What do you want? Do you want fiction or nonfiction?
I want one of each now that you asked.
Yeah, I knew it. As I set that up, like, oh no, crap, she's going to want. I mean, I Harry Potter. I always come back to Harry, and my favorite book of the series is The Half-Blood Prince. For those that are wondering, I've read through the series like 3 times out loud to my family. First time was to my wife. Those were cozy nights, and then
sounds really sexy.
I said cozy, not sexy. Although
know what you
sometimes, it gets pretty dangerous with all that magic. My favorite, you know what? The Coaching Habit is one of my favorite nonfiction. That's on my list as always has to be read. It's called The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stainer. 7 questions that have transformed my coaching. So if you're a coach of any kind, then these are phenomenal. It's a phenomenal framework to just put you in the right headspace to lead a good conversation.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to check that out. I love this because I feel like I've read so many books, and then you guys are always hitting me with things that I've never heard of. I'm like, oh, there's another one. Add it to the list. Okay. Where has been your favorite place to travel so far?
Okay, so we're a Disney family, big time. We love that. We love Disney World. I got 3 kids. So, but even if I didn't have them, like my wife and I went to Disneyland for a date, a weekend date across the country. But other than, that commercialized kind of place, I love Poland. I've been to Poland twice, and that's like history. Like you think we've got an old city here. It's like, oh, it's 150 years old, and they've got like 1,000-year-old buildings there. So it's beautiful.
Oh, I love that answer. Poland.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what I feel like. I don't know a lot about Poland. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit.
It's crazy because you go there and the people are kind and wonderful and everything. I went over when I was a youth pastor, and we did summer camp stuff over there. And while you're there, they're like, hey, just so that you really understand the history, let's go to Auschwitz and let's have a look around and really understand this place. So that's part of it. It's like you can't be in the country without understanding that this was the hardest hit by Hitler, World War II, all of that. And so that's part of their story. That's part of their heritage. And as soon as you enter in, you talk to the people, you realize oh, it's embedded in you, in your soul, in your family, in your generation. I think that's part of it. It's so rich in this devastating story that I think that actually draws me in as well, for what it's worth. But
there's this really interesting dynamic because you're they're the most kind people that are let me tell you about the worst thing that's ever happened. It's
seriously.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So,
and you see the difference between the grandparents and the I was there hanging out with teenagers, and they're just like regular teenagers, and their grandparents are the hardest people, because they've been through hell, that's right. Or their parents went through, right? So it's fascinating, it really is.
Wow. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, look at that. I've learned so much already. Okay, what is one thing that's on your bucket list right now?
To be on Stacy's podcast. So check. We have this I call it the Big Things vacation. And I just want to drive from Toronto across to the west coast of Canada, down to California, and then back up diagonally and see big mountains, big lakes, big trees, big canyons. I want to see all the big things in a van with my family. That's my bucket dream right now.
Ooh, I'm all about that. So if you need help with any of that, I'm in.
All right. Okay. There you go. Can I borrow your van?
Yeah. We'll make that happen.
She said yes.
It is on the podcast. I said, you threw me in a corner and I said yes. And that's all right. So, okay. What
so the big, all those weird big things, like big nickels and big chairs and big dinosaurs, that's the kind of crap that I'm really thirsty to see. So if anybody knows those things, reach out to me and tell me what's the big thing near you that's the weird tourist attraction. That's what I want to see. So
yeah, please tag us in your weird thing. I actually have one. We were up north Michigan, and there's I might be totally screwing this up, but I think it's the world's biggest cherry pie. And so, yeah.
I'm not surprised. I'm sure that's somewhere. Why not Michigan?
Right. It is definitely Michigan. I think it was near Charlevoix. Yeah. So we'll have to find that for you and bring you here to see the biggest cherry pie we can find.
Not edible.
No, it's not.
Okay.
You probably was at one point. Okay. What did you want to be when you were growing up? What was that thing that you were like, I want to be this?
Is this supposed to be lightning round? Just like we're like taking like tons of time.
I'm horrible at lightning round.
Okay, brilliant.
I don't do lightning anything.
Excellent. All right. It's a slow rumble. Slow thunder round.
Yeah.
I was going to be an actor. I mean, no doubt. That was it. There was my mom. My mom was an actress. My dad was a photographer. So like just artistic family, storytelling family. My mom took the lead and threw me on stage in second grade, and I caught the bug, and that was it. I was destined to win an Oscar by the time I was 21. That was my goal. Like, I'm not going to university, you jokers. I'm going to go get on stage or get in a movie. Had the speech written, and then took a left turn. So that was it. It was absolutely acting all the way, and needed to be in front of an audience. Saw the gift, was encouraged in that. That was it.
That is so fun. We're coming back to that.
I know.
Last question though is, what was one of your favorite things to do when you were a kid besides acting?
Okay. First thing that came to my mind was rollerblading, which I mean, I think those are coming back or something. I don't know. But I thought
skates
that
are coming back.
I know. Everything's coming back.
Like
we had seriously. Okay. Okay, let's go rollerblading first. I thought that I was like the biggest trickster. Like there's this movie, and maybe two people in your listeners are going to know this movie. It's called Airborne. And it's about some California kid who moves to Minnesota, and he loves rollerblading, he loves surfing, but they're all like hockey players. And so he puts on his rollerblades, and he's this cool surfer guy, super hot. All the girls want him. He's like, "What's up, man?" And I just wanted to be him so badly. That was it. And I'm like this dorky little 90-pound soaking wet kind of, "What's up, guys?" And felt like I was thrashing hard. That was it.
We all have aspiration, thrashing. So that word, that is this is so funny. I heard that for the first time in Sedona when my husband was buying a bike from this guy who could not have been more appropriately, like, talk about a guy living in his glory and his passion. It was this guy at the bike shop, and he's like, talking to my husband. He's like, "Yeah, you're going to go out there and you're going to be able to thrash so hard." And I'm like, what does this mean?
Yeah. Is this a good thing?
Now, like we joke. So like every time he goes on his bike, I was like, "Did you thrash so hard while you were out there?" Because, I didn't even know that was a thing until this guy brought it up. But
does he get upset? He's like, "No, come on. I actually was thrashing. Like, don't make fun of it. Like, it was awesome."
I don't know that he knows how to thrash on his mountain bike either. So I think we're on the same page on that one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Thrash?
How do I do this? So, all right, Alex, you're so fun to talk to. We could just bullshit this whole interview away, but I want to dive into a little bit about, so you are a storyteller. Like, that is, you help people tell their stories. You said that it kind of started really young for you. So obviously it's really fun to see like who your parents were and how that kind of like your environment helped you not even question being an actor, right? Like that, like most people would be like, yeah, everybody wants to be, famous when they grow up, but they don't believe it's not like a possibility, or they get shut down really young. So how do you feel like where did all of that start for you? Was storytelling always like just a gift that you had?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like that's it, right? So I look at that, and we just absorbed it. My brother's a screenwriter now. Like, this is who we are, and I say, like, my dad told stories through his camera, and he was actually like a photojournalist. So like he was a storyteller, and like you talk about somebody who could captivate a room. I'm telling you, this guy was phenomenal. And then my mom, I felt like when she walked into a room, heads turned. Like, there was just this attractiveness about them that I watched, and I think I watched a lot more. I think this is it. A lot of us, we watch our parents a lot more than maybe we think we do, and we absorb a lot more. If you're around whoever those influencers are, whether they're your parents or grandparents or caregivers as you're growing up, you really absorb a lot of who they are. And so, like, I would spend hours and hours playing with my action figures and building worlds with them. And then when I got bored, to be like, hey, I'd talk to my brother, be like, hey, what do you want to do? And he's like, let's make a movie. So then we'd go and actually we spent a summer making movies. We made a zombie movie, like a 25-minute zombie movie, like just for kicks. And that was it. That was like my childhood. That was my teenage years, was getting on stage, acting as much as I could, being whatever. It was just, that's what brought me life. And that's where I found my ease, my escape. That came easy to me,
Mm-hmm. What about acting? Like, what do you think you learned through that? Because I'm just going to stop there. What do you think you learned through that?
Okay. So what it was, there's something so phenomenal. And if for those that have been performing or being on stage in any way, I mean, even this, right? Even showing up on Instagram now, I'm like, you're in front of an audience. We have this desire to show up and have an effect on an audience, to somehow impact them. That's all the world. That's what we're all striving for right now. It's why we're coaches. It's why we do this, because we want to have an impact on the people in front of us. And I think for me, there was something so thrilling about the fact that I can do something here on this stage that will affect the people in this room. I would say if you can change the way that they breathe, you've made a difference. So that means laughter, that means holding your breath. If you can speak in such a way that makes your audience change their breath pattern, you're having an effect on them. And that is, oh my goodness, that's the hit. That's the drug. Like that's so enticing for me, Stacey. Like that I think is what really drew me in from, like, I'm thinking 9th grade, like I've got to be on stage. Put me in that school production. Give me that role so that I can step up and affect them somehow. Tell a story here that's going to affect them. But then it changes when they react in a way that you're not expecting. And I think that's the fear. That's like when we're like, yes, let me step in and affect it. But then if they react a way that I wasn't expecting, that's where it gets dangerous, I think, for us. That's where fear takes over. And it's like, yeah, see, you can't control. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, no, I've never been there. Yeah, of course.
That's what it was. Like, I think of 9th grade when I stepped out as like my first big production. Is like there's all these seniors in the show, and I'm like this little nerdy rollerblader, and I had the first line in the show, or at least my first line, and I was the love interest in this thing. So I was like, oh yeah, here we go, stepping up, and I had to step up to the front of the stage, and there's someone like looking around for me. They're like, Chad, where are you? And I step up to the front of the stage. And I was supposed to say, here I am. And I got up and I was like, here I am. And the voice just cracked. It was like an echo going through the auditorium. And so what did I hear? But people laughing. But it wasn't a funny line. So sure, I had funny lines coming up. I was going to make them laugh. But then they laughed at this moment that I couldn't control. And something shifted there where I was like, no, that's not happening again. I'm going to control how my audience reacts from now on. I'm going to do as much as I can to control their reactions. And that actually sent me on, I think, a spiral looking for control where I had no business kind of getting it for the next 20 years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that went deep. That went deep really fast. Like I love, because oh man, do we all strive for control? I probably write this in my journal like 9 times a week. Surrender. Like, we don't get to control. We can't control all of the things that are outside of us. And it's interesting because at that age, like 9th grade, how such a seemingly small moment can just completely shift the way that you see the world. I think that that's fascinating, that it was like you looked at, and it's not the things that happened to us, it's how we perceive what happened. And so most people will never remember that moment, but that moment for you was, you know what, I'm never going to be caught off guard again. Like, and kind of sent you. So like, how did that show up you said, 20 years. So like, how did that keep showing up for you?
Yeah. I mean, this only came up for me because there was a podcast on Corrine Walsh's podcast. She's phenomenal. And she asked me, like, what's the fear? And I was like, well, the fear, like, this was like a year ago. And she's like, what's the fear of you actually creating your own program, the program you know you need to do for people? I was like, there's a fear that people aren't going to listen. That's the inner critic that speaks to me, that lives on my shoulder and says, why are you doing this? Nobody's listening to you. Why are you putting that post out? Nobody's going to listen to it. Nobody hears you. Nobody's responding. And she's like, ask this very simple question. Where do you think that began? And as I sat there and just breathed and went, that memory came up. So you're right. It's not the moment. It's just a moment, but it's a moment that I can look at and say, yeah, that may have started something. And what it started was this idea that I'm going to get up with my voice, with my message, with my opportunity and my gifting, and I'm going to say something here, but they might not respond. They're not listening how I want them to listen. And that fear has held me back from doing the thing that I'm here to do. As I say, for 20 years, like, sure, I was doing it in certain ways, but only in the past 2 years have I really stepped into this and said, no, this is who I am. And I'm fearless in this. And I'm confident and I'm clear in who I am or what I'm here to do, which is help people tell their stories to shape this world.
It's so good. It's so fun to see. And it's amazing that like you said, it's not like, but it's that whole confirmation bias, right? Where like this one thing happened and then you spent the next 20 years telling yourself, like, validating that story over and over and over, that was where that was something to be afraid of. Right. And this is where I think so many people, we've all been there, and we all have stories that we tell ourselves over and over and over, and we find ways to make them true. And that can be said with I think anything in life, is that anything that we believe, we find ways to make it true. And that's why it's so important to have outside perspectives, outside people that can look and say, like, is that true? Because most of the time it's not. The stories that we tell ourselves are, most of the time, they're not true.
And I think that's like that might just be the key right there, Stacey, is that other character in the story. Who's that supporting character, that guide, whoever that is in your story? Because I look at that and I guess I was 14. 3 years later, I find myself in a youth group, volunteering in a church youth group. That's a whole other path of how I got there, and followed a girl into that who's now my wife, and la-di-da. And so
so cute.
It is. It's a beautiful love story. But that's not the point here. So here I am volunteering, and like, I'm 17 years old and hanging out, being this like leader, this role model for like 12 and 13-year-olds in this crazy wild weekly program. And there's this, Dave is a youth pastor, and Dave gets up every week and he like talks for 20 minutes to this group of 12-year-olds to tell them about God's love and their purpose in this world. And then one week, I'm there for like 3 months hanging out and, I don't know, throwing Jello at kids, and like a good role model. And he comes up to me, he puts his hand on my shoulder. He's like, do you want to speak next week? I was like, oh, okay. So up to this point, I've only been an actor, right? I learn a script, I step on stage, I play that character. And this was the first time that somebody said, do you want to use your own thoughts to connect with an audience, to speak, to share your own unique ideas? And I was like, okay. So it took a week, got up, and it was awful. Like, terrible. Like, that first acting experience was something, but this one, I was awful. There's like a 45-year-old adult leader who was yawning in the back row as I was talking. Actually, no, it wasn't yawning. There were kids yawning. The adult was snoring. That's what happened. That's locked in there. And I got done. And so what happens? I'm telling myself that same story. Nobody's listening. This sucks. I suck. And then he came up to me and said, that was awful. I remember those words specifically. But then he looked at me, he said, do you want to try again? So that moment, that do you want to try again, was this belief that somebody else had in me that sparked a 20-year speaking career for me. Because I haven't stopped. He said, do you want to try again? And I haven't stopped since. So there's this, I could have shut down. I could have believed that same old story. Nobody's listening to me. I'm not making my impact. But he saw something and said, here, have another shot. That started something. So who's that person? I would say for those listening, who's that person for you? Stacy, who's that person for you that gave you that shot, that has given you that kind of boost, that encouragement? When you could have listened to another voice, somebody came along and said, no, here's the truth.
Yeah, that's a great question. He's flipping the script on me right now. I don't appreciate it. No, it's and it's funny because I think there's so many, right? Like for
hopefully.
Yeah, there's like tons of people. I think that like probably most recently, my husband has always he's always kind of believed in me a lot. I think that my mom always tends to come around just when I need her to. And then I don't know. I feel like there's always these like little, I call them little God winks that are people that, because I think we're always being guided, right? And by whatever. And so there's people, sometimes it's strangers, sometimes like I one time had somebody come up to me and like I had no idea this person was listening to me, right? And he would always say, like, he just kind of said, I just want you to know that like what you wrote in this particular thing impacted me like in a huge way. And I just want to thank you for that. As somebody that like, I would have never thought, right, like reads my things at all. And, you know, it's funny because I tell people often now that like for every one person that says something, there's 10 that never will, that you are impacting. And so I call it, I think, and you have to, I would love to get your thoughts on this because I think it takes a totally different type of confidence to step up and have your own voice and have your own thoughts and be able to put that out there instead of copy and pasting what maybe somebody else does. And I talk about your internal awesome meter a lot because I think that you have to be your own biggest fan. And we can look and we can have those God winks and those people who maybe pull us off the, off the ground when we're like there. But at the end of the day, I think we have to be able to like believe in our own awesomeness enough to keep going. Because there might be a time when the external validation isn't there. We still have to be able to move forward.
So fully and completely agree with that. And I talk about, it takes a different kind of confidence to show up and let your own thoughts be heard, to put your own thing out there instead of copy and pasting somebody else or mimicking someone else, which there is just a ton of right now. And it's highly encouraged on social media platforms. Do this trending dance, play this trending music. Well, so I'm going to do this thing that someone else is doing so that I can get seen. And I think what it's doing is actually perpetuating that idea that I need to be like this group in order to be noticed. But of course, that doesn't make any sense at all. The only way to be noticed is to be yourself. The only way to stand out is with your own unique lived experience, your own unique story, your own unique voice. So how do you find that? And you say it's like your internal awesome meter, which could also be awesometer, maybe?
Ooh, I like that. I feel like I could screw that up and call it like an awesometer an accident or something.
That's what I was hoping. I was leaning to that.
I feel like she played right into that one.
I mean, there's people out there that are actually measuring their awesometer as well. This is how I measure my worth. But I talk about, like it's really this, most of the work that I do with people, I think like in really helping them find their story, to uncover their story, is actually about developing empathy for yourself. It's about developing first. This is an internal game. Before you turn out and you turn this script on other people and you start talking out there and you start trying to attract the right audience and build your business in that way. Before you start using your voice, you've got to go in and see what actually happened in there. What's actually going on. Look at just how awesome your story, your transformation has already been. That's the fun of this. And when you do that, you're right. We're out there like grasping at straws. We're trying to find that confidence. Where the hell do I find that? How do I get that? Is that from likes? Is that from people paying me? Is that from accolades? Is that from connections and the size of my network? Is that from how hard I can thrash? I don't know. Where do I find that confidence? And you're absolutely right. It's first has to be found by going in and actually empathizing with your own journey so far and saying, it's actually pretty awesome. Like, look at this, look where I've come. I used to be so confused all the time on how I would talk, where I should go, what I should do. When's the call coming? When's the big next step happening? How do I talk to these people so they will love me? And now I'm showing up so clear, absolutely confident. And that transformation is something to celebrate. And I think we've all got that.
Yeah, it's all possible. It's just a matter of, like you said, you have to be willing to go in and not out, right? And this is where everybody's looking for their confidence from somebody else. And I love that you brought up the fact that, like, in our world right now, and I think that it's just been happening. It's been happening for a long time, though. Is this this I just wrote something the other day, and my notes in my phone is probably a really fucking weird place, because there's like just the like random thoughts that I have. And I don't even, it's like just random things. But I think the other day I wrote, like, if you don't have time to come up with your own ideas, then you may need to consider just slowing down, because like we can't, like, there's so much of it out there. And it's just like, it's hard.
It's so hard though, because I also sometimes I want to do what I like that thing. That trend is actually really funny, and I want to do that thing. But if I have this voice, if I go out there, like if you said that, right? So if you show up and you're like, I'm going to make that into an Instagram tile and put that out there. If you don't have time, then you got to make more space, or whatever you said. Something important. If you put that out there, now you also now feel like, oh shoot, now I guess I can't do a trending reel, because now I just said you should be coming up with your own. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, well, I can't contradict my own statement that I just made now. But I think there needs to be freedom for all of it. What you're saying is exactly that, of like, first, this should be from your creative self. Like, what's the most creative thing you could do? Start
right. And I think that, what is your flair, right? Like, what's the flair that you're going to put on it? And I think that you can do, like, we all can do a similar thing and do it completely different. It's just a matter, it really is that, like, copy and paste. Like, inspiration is one thing. And I think copy and paste is a different thing, and I've just learned that I think that there is a lack of, like, true into, like, that true confidence for what it is, when we can't see what we bring to the table. And I mean, like, you work with men and women, I work with men and women, and it's a constant struggle of, like, seeing that you don't need all of this external stuff to kind of come forward. With that said, so you said something earlier. I don't even know. I have a note written here, and I feel like this is a good time to talk about it, because you said making an impact. And I think that obviously that is the most important thing that we can do, is set our sights and our mission and our purpose to have an impact on as many people as we possibly can. But do you think that there's a difference between impact, like doing things out of a place of impact, versus doing things from a place of being seen?
Well, yeah. Yes. Moving on. I think about what was my first desire? I didn't think about impacting anybody with my acting, except for myself. Like, that wasn't it. The desire was to be seen. The desire was to use my gifts, my authentic gifts, but be seen for the gifts that I have. And I think what happens is here's another book for you, Falling Upward by Richard Rohr. He talks about the second half of life. Roar, R-O-R-H-R. Gosh, that was hard. R-O-H-R. He talks about the second half of life. And whenever that second, everybody's going to think of a different number when they think of second half of life. Is that 40? Is that 30? Who knows? But he talks about it as a state of mind that for the first half of life, it's me. It's about me. It's about identity. You're forming your identity, and then you're trying to figure out, okay, now how do I use what I have, what I've now discovered about myself, and make an impact? And that's kind of in your 20s. You're like, I'm trying to do this. And that's why we all get frustrated with the fact that you got into some office job, because it doesn't feel like you're making your impact. You're making your money, but you're not making the impact. And so then what do? We start to move around a bit. We start to get uncomfortable and start to go, man, there's got to be something different. And that point is now the shift where we step out of the box that we're comfortable in, and we start to do something that will actually turn from the inward to the outward. And we really see, how am I going to make my mark? How am I going to make my legacy? How am I going to make my large impact in this world? And it's something that actually shifts. I just think where this is interesting is it's not just some sort of flip mindset thing, but it might actually be like a growth, a generational thing that happens as you grow. As you move through life, you think about impact more than you once did. And at once it was about being seen, but now it's about how do I shape this world? And I think that would be the defining difference. How that looks, I think you're seeing it. You can see, you notice, you sniff it out. If you're showing up authentically, you can see when somebody is just showing up to be seen versus authentically trying to make an impact.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And, I can only say that because for those of you listening, and I think I've shared this before, if not, I share it often, is that I spent a lot of the first part of my life. I'm going to be 33 this month. Yep. And I spent a lot of the first part of my life wanting to be seen. Like, that's why I did what I did, is like I lived, but from my experience, wanting to be seen was, yes, I wanted to make an impact, but like the deeper thing that I wanted was to be seen for like what I knew I had to offer. Right. I wanted other people to see that. And that's where I think I'm not even going to try my awesome meter I had to build, because I didn't even try. I was going to call it an ass meter again, but
it's spoiled. I'm so sorry.
It's over. But anyways, but yeah, it was like, it wasn't until I was able to make that shift of, like, because when I talk about purpose, or you talk about your passion, it's like, what would you do it if no one was watching? And I think that it's a really important question. And for a long time, that answer for me would have been no. Like, I want people to see me. Right. And that was, once I was able to let that go and stop trying to prove, because when we're in that place of wanting people to see, we're trying to prove something to people. And then that leads us down a road of not living authentically and living our life for everyone else. So where do you feel like that shift happened for you? Like, what changed?
That is so good. This is you're doing such a good job here leading this through, because something came to mind and then you just asked me about it. It's phenomenal. This is what's so interesting, because when you talk about being seen, a lot of people are like, yeah, but I don't want to be in the spotlight. I didn't want to be seen. And some people that I work with, their main transformation, as we define their story, their transformation, it's from hiding to being seen. So as we talk about this, we're like, yeah, everybody in their 20s is just trying to be seen. They're not trying to make an impact. Some of us, you're just showing up to be seen, but you're actually hiding from what's actually in there. And I think that's the deep work, is you're hiding something. So yes, you are being seen. It's like, yeah, I'm in attendance, present, but you're not actually engaging with the world around you. You're not actually making your impact. And for me, this was this was the game changer. This is like 2 years ago, I went to Starbucks and I was like, I got to figure out my story. What sets me apart as a life coach? And I just 3 hours just typed out whatever I could think of, starting from the earliest. What happened? Why do I do this? Why do I care about storytelling, about speaking? Why am I here? And what came up for me was that it was always about the moment. It was always about the creating a moment for me. So whether that's on stage or then take that into my career as a youth pastor, the most exciting things for me were creating the event, creating the moment where we smashed a watermelon in front of the audience. I got to spray watermelon. It's hilarious. And I got to do that. Or we created this like room of 500 teenagers, and I came down from the rafters in a chicken suit and then led the Hokey Pokey rap for them with a live band. Like, what a freaking party. It was incredible. Why do I do that? So that people would remember that years later. But I wasn't thinking about that then. When I look back, I'm like, it was all about them. I loved the moment, and everything that I did was about the moment. And so coming back, and if in that moment, the people didn't react how I wanted them to react, then the whole thing was a failure, because that moment didn't happen. It did. That's the impact. That's where I saw the immediate impact. But here's where it changes, Stacey. And this is the outward thing. This is the being seen. This is truly showing up, is when you recognize that it's not just about this moment, but it's about how you do something here that can form a story, a new story in your audience that they take far beyond here and shape their world with. So when you realize that your work here impacts them there, I think that's when you start to actually be seen and show up authentically with your true, clear message, because you realize that this isn't about me at all. So it starts with an internal thing, and then once it turns external, now you're showing up.
And I think that's a really powerful lesson, because, you never know when what you say or more importantly, what you do is going to impact somebody. Like, I've had so many people who in the moment, they were probably not very happy with me. They did not love what I was saying nor doing. And then later I've had them come back and be like, when you said this one thing to me, like, it took me a while, but that stuck with me. And so I think that that's the power, like you're saying, of continuing to show up in your authenticity and just continuing to be you, is that you don't know the ripple. You don't know the ripple. You don't know what's being said, where that's going. Like, it's, that might be advice that somebody gave to somebody else, like later on, that continues to ripple. Like, you don't really know. And I think that that's really cool. I think the hard part, and so with what you do, very similar to what I do, I think that when you're on a path, when you're helping people with things that aren't as tangible as other things, right? Like, it can be, I think we have to actually learn this lesson to faster and like harder than maybe others do, because we have to realize that the work we do is not going to be, we're like, and I have had to come to terms with this, because again, I really wanted to be seen for a long time. I came to terms with the fact that you kind of have to be okay being the little like secret weapon in the back pocket that you may never get the credit for how much you help somebody, because it is so deep and it's very transformational, but it's hard to put it into words. Like, do you ever feel that?
Well, I talk about sometimes being a spotlight leader. And that doesn't mean standing in the spotlight often. It means being the one who holds the spotlight to shine it on someone else. Now, who's the real leader in that situation? Well, you can't stand in the spotlight unless someone's shining it on you. So much of what you do, Stacey, is standing there and shining the spotlight on someone else to lift them up, to let them be seen truly for who they are. And in doing that, you're in the sound booth, like you're in the lighting booth, like nobody ever looks at you. But you know that you're doing your most authentic work. And I think that's where we are, for those of us that are doing this deep work with people, you're right. Like it might not have that connection. That's some of the work where I'm like, okay, so how do I turn this into, it's not just understanding your story, but turning it into a message that now you can take forward and say, I'm more confident in how I speak because I know where I've come from. That's like almost my effort to be like, look, it is practical. It is tangible. Look at this. But when it all comes down to it, I know that there's a lot of people out there who have done work with me that have kind of started to embrace their story. That, as you say, yeah, they're not, crediting me with that, but something has shifted for them. And in that, I kind of have to just sit back and go, okay, yeah, maybe in this time, yeah, I'm holding the spotlight.
I love that. I love that. And your ability to do that because you are phenomenal at it. So, I think that's so good. So I like to always one, honor your time, but two, there's a question that I end every interview with. So are you ready for that question?
Yeah, we could go into it. Yeah, here we go.
Okay. All right. What is one lesson you feel like you're in the middle of learning?
I think we just talked about it for 45 minutes. I as I said, there's this voice that speaks to me and says nobody's listening. And what I'm in the middle of learning is focusing with such clarity and what I'm here to do, like right now. I mean, the book I'm reading right now is called The One Thing. And
I love that book.
It's there you go. Apparently everybody's read it. So I'm the last one. Here we go. And I as I think about that, multitasking and all that, what's actually happening is I'm finding so much more grace for myself to, say that this month was a really low month financially in my business. And in the past, that would have worried me like terribly. I would have been shaking. I would have been so nervous and trying to figure out and grasp at anything I could get. And I found last month I was just talking about that and just saying it, trusting that I've been doing the work so that's something like I know it's coming, right? It's that sort of thing that I'm learning how when I get so clear on what I'm focusing on now, the whole thing opens up and becomes more clear. And I have so much more grace for who I am. And I know that my story is one of confusion to clarity. And since that's been consistent with who I've been for 37 years, I'm going to find clarity through this as well. And that's the power. And that's kind of what I'm working through right now is finding that clarity.
Ooh, so good. And, it's funny because last month was a very interesting month. And I would say that if you want to go into astrology and all the things, there was a lot of things happening last month. And you're probably not the only person who feels that way about their business. So
can you, I know we've got time here, but can you explain that just a little bit? Like for me who doesn't know,
yeah.
For others.
So it was last month was like another really, really big month of like change. And it was all about like really going inward. And something that my mentor said to me is she said, and so we're talking about July because this will come out in August, July was like, actually this entire summer is like, you have to stay in your lane. And like the second you stick your head out the window, you're going to get it taken off. Because like when you start trying to look at what everybody else is doing and all the different things, that's when things like the shit show is going to happen. And so it's a summer of staying in your lane, continuing to do the work, putting one foot in front of the other and not paying attention to what anyone else is doing and having that trust that things are going to, because now August, we're jumping into a place of like high creativity, transformation is happening this month. Like if we've been putting in the work, right? And this is the interesting thing about a lot of this stuff is that yes, August can be a super transformational month for a lot of people. But if you haven't been putting in the work, then you don't get to just transform. Like that isn't how it works. And so my point is, and what I was going to say is that July was almost like how committed are you? How committed are you to your path? How committed are you to your journey? And, things can come together overnight, but nothing happens overnight. And that is like the thing that I love it because I love seeing that aha moment with people that I work with too, is they've been putting in, it's about the discipline of showing up and doing the work every single day, and that's like your mind, your body, your spirit. You have to be doing the work on all of those fronts. And you show up every day, and then it feels like there's like a weekend or a day or like a month where everything comes together. But the only way that all came together was because you have put in months or years or whatever that is of discipline and doing the work.
Yeah.
And you have to trust that it is all going to come together, but it didn't happen overnight. It happened because you were willing to keep moving forward.
Oh, this is so good. That is so authentic to my story right now, the one that I'm in, all of that. It's just, it's true. It's beautiful.
I have to remind myself of this every day, Alex.
I think that's it. That's the work, is you find the thing, you find the new truth, you find that authentic story, you find the thing that's new, but it's actually not new. It's old. It's been with you all along. And then you remind yourself of that constantly. It's the reminder that this is what I'm here to do, that this is who I am. This is what I've been through. This is the power that I have. All right, let's go.
Yeah. And just staying true to that. And I think that we all go through those moments. And I think too, we live in an Amazon Prime world, right? Where everybody wants everything to come together. And it's even like the people who are having what we would deem as super successful, and especially, I mean, we all do it. We all compare ourselves to different people. We have to realize that, like, again, things didn't happen for them overnight either. Like there was a lot of things that went into that. And, we just, again, have to stay committed to the fact that committed to our purpose, committed to what we're passionate about without getting distracted and like doing shiny object, right? Like it's just, we have to stay in our lane.
That's it. I love it. The summer of staying in your lane.
The summer of staying in your lane. Yeah. Don't put your head or feet or hands out the window. Keep them all in. It's so much easier said than done, but it's like, it has become very, very true. And everything that I've seen. And so it's kind of just a time of putting your head down and doing the work and staying committed, and it'll all come together. It always does. We just have to trust and surrender that it's going to come together how it's supposed to and not how we envisioned it.
Oof. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that for another hour, shall we?
Right. We could, because this is I think that I was put on this planet this time around to learn this particular lesson. It's that control, right? It's the letting go of the fear, because all control comes from fear, right? And we have to let go of that and know that it's all working out in our favor.
And again, you're trying to control this moment rather than doing something authentic, just doing something pure in this moment and allowing however this is going to impact the people that you're working with beyond here in a way that you never had control of anyways. And you knew that. It's just about recognizing that, I don't start with control. I actually just start with authenticity and let it go from there. Yeah.
And it's so fun because if you actually ride that out and ride that flow, like there's obstacles, there's different things that are going to pop up, but like life just, it really does come together and feel easier. The path of least resistance is a thing, like we just have to be willing to and I used to, and I'm sure that people who are listening, if you're an entrepreneur or whatever it is, like, it doesn't matter. You've probably had these situations, but I remember in my group program, um, there was almost so much fear around filling it and selling it out and
Mhm,
doing this and
mhm.
doing that. Right. And it's funny how life kind of happens for you because originally, we're taught that you need like 10 to 15 to 20 plus people. And what I have found is that I actually don't work with any more than like 6 or 7 people at one time. And
Mhm.
like I was given that gift from the universe, from God, whatever you want, to like be that I never had more because like that's not the kind of work I do. And it would have
Mm,
been actually diluted if I would have tried to, people wouldn't have been seen. Right. And that's like one of the
yeah.
things that is so important with what both of us do. So it's just funny kind of sometimes to reminisce on like, oh, the way that I wanted it to be was this. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, like that would not have worked. Like that would not
It's
have been
so
authentic.
it's so interesting. I'm in the middle of launching a program right now, and yeah, there's all those numbers and what's that going to be. But as I look back at the last group programs that I launched, 4 rounds of it, and yeah, it was I was always like, oh, there's going to be 15 people in this, and exactly, it was 7, 8, 9, 8 people in those 4 rounds, and it was magic. And
Mhm.
And what you're opening my eyes to see, which I think a lot of people will do through these thoughts, is go, oh, not a coincidence. Like, now, yeah, there is a gift in that, which allowed me to do what I do at my very best, which I thought would be something else. But look at that. Look how I showed up and look what was able to happen because of that. So
So
why not
good.
just have my hands open now for whatever's going to come and accept it?
Yeah, exactly. It's, again,
It's good
easier said
stuff.
than done. But we're going to hold on to this. So for everybody who's listening, like just, open yourself up to stop trying to swim upstream because it just will leave you exhausted and hard on life and all the things. So it's like if we can just let it come as it does and go with the flow instead, life becomes a lot easier. So,
There we go.
Alex, thank you so much for being here. And I want everybody because I know people are going to want to connect with you, to learn more about what you do because you are so talented. And how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I hang out on Instagram mostly. So I'm at Street Says on there. Find me, start a conversation, just say, hey, loved your conversation with Stacy, and we'll go from there. I just love meeting
Only
people,
if you
and
say that you loved the conversation. Will no,
that's it.
I'm just
That is the
kidding.
only thing. Um, and and we'll start the conversation. So that's the best thing. Otherwise, alexstreet.ca has, all the programs and all the things, and you can learn and we'll talk from there.
Mm. Well, again, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up authentically, making us laugh, just being who you are and sharing that gift with the world because we really do need it. So thanks for being here, Alex.
I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome to the Evolve Beyond Limits post show. We just finished our interview with Alex Street, and I pulled so much away from it. But if you notice, this is not the same day that we recorded the interview. And I'm so glad that I decided to sit with some of Alex's and my conversation. And he actually kind of forced me to get a little bit he turned the tables on me in a way that I wasn't expecting. And so I want to talk about that because he said to me the story about the pastor who gave him a shot and then told him that to do it again and just believed in him. And when he turned that on me and said, "Do you have anybody?" It was really interesting because I struggled in that moment and I want to be fully transparent. And I said the thing that like you're supposed to say, right? Like my husband's supportive, my parents are supportive. Um, but being supportive is different than what Alex was saying. And I actually had this conversation with my husband because it kept coming back. So on Sunday, we sat down and I literally started crying because I was like, I feel like there have been times in when I was going after all the things that like if I hadn't been who I am and said, I'm going to keep moving forward, even though maybe I don't have somebody sitting in my corner saying, keep going, keep trying, keep doing the thing, um, I would have never been here. And that doesn't mean that other people didn't support me. It's just that I never had, I think that if I would have said I give up, they would have said, okay, like that's fine. Um, and like they would support me no matter what I did, right? And so it got me thinking. And then I told him that I do have people like that. I have Mally, who you heard last week. I have Raquel, who has been the most amazing coach to me. She is definitely like the yang to my yin, because we're very different. But one thing that she's never allowed me to do, either one of them, is to give up or to think that I didn't have something to offer. And like they always were there in the moments that I needed them the most to snap me back into reality and tell me to keep moving. Like, this is worth it. I can do it. What I do matters. And for anybody who's ever done anything, build a business, whatever, like gone after a dream or a goal, we have to find those people. And what my husband said is, it's hard for us to do for the people who are closest to you, who do support you. They like, he's like, it's hard for us to do anything but support you because we don't understand it. We've never been there. And that was a really, really good point because it almost means more coming from somebody who's maybe been where you've been or goes through some of the same struggles that you go through, who can see in you what you can't see in yourself. And um, I had to pay to get people like that in my life. And that's 1,000% okay. And it just made me realize that I do have people that push me forward and that I haven't gotten to where I am alone. And there's probably more times than not that I've wanted to give up or I didn't know what to do next. And I've been led by these types of people. Um, and there's probably many, many more. So, this is just the conversation that I had. So I want to send a thank you to them. But also I think this is also a big reason why I'm so passionate about being that person for others. Because quite frankly, very, very seldom can we see in ourselves what other people see in us. If we all did, wow, I think the world would be a different place, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. So it's such a gift to be able to be that person for other people that says, you know what, like keep going because what you're doing matters. What you have to offer, people need. And like, don't give up because there's only one place to go if you give up on that dream. And the world really does need you. So, this message is more for one, to share with you that I really do learn so much from the people that I interview. And sometimes I have to take a step back and look at that in my own life and where is that showing up and process through it. Um, and then it's also for anybody who's listening that isn't sure if their dream is too out of touch, if they aren't sure if they can do it, if, maybe they don't have that person in their corner saying, you need to keep moving forward. Like, this is for you because you do. You have to keep moving forward. Your dream matters. There's a reason why you feel so drawn to do something because you're here to impact the world and whatever it is, like whatever your new unique way happens to be. So that's what I want to leave you with today. That is what I took from this show. And thank you, Alex, for bringing that to my attention because one of the difficult things for me was that the vulnerability to say, I need help, right? That was a really, really tough thing for me to do in the past. And now I'm realizing that the more and more I get into business and in life is it's not meant to be done alone. And it's a hell of a lot more fun if we don't try to do it alone. And I don't want to go on this journey by myself. I want to be surrounded by people who pick me up every single day, every single week, because like that's what life's all about. That's what this journey is all about. It's not about doing it by yourself. So think about that in your life. Like, what are you trying to do that you could maybe ask for some help? Do you need somebody in your corner? Because I'm happy to be that person. Yeah, just whatever you need. So I'm going to leave you with that. And if you haven't yet and you need to be part of a community, please join our text community. It's free. You will be the first to know about anything that pops up, as well as get some journal prompts dropped to you a few times a week. We do a fun card pull on Sundays. You can just text Journal 2021 to 248-206-3431. And if you really want to dig into some of the subconscious work that maybe is underneath there, but you just haven't said it or you haven't brought it to the surface, then definitely make sure you head over and hop on the wait list for a white light session. I will be opening up September here soon, and I just really look forward to connecting with you in whatever way I can to support you in whatever I can, because your dream deserves to come true too. All right, until next time, keep evolving.